You too can see that right now you're running for school board. Children are being taught, hey, you don't have to tell your parents a thing. You can come and confine the counselor. The state is now responsible for parental duties. Okay, and the net result of this is something like CRT, for example. Well, it's a completely out of context. Critical race theory. It's really critical theory as a whole. Now, critical theory, what that means is very simple. It means that I'm going to take the facts, I'm going to take everything that's known to be true, I'm going to disregard it, and I'm going to theorize what I want the outcome to be. And so as opposed to critical theory, as opposed to critical thinking, it's actually critical theorizing. So I could substitute the race, I could substitute that in there for sexual, I could have a critical sexual theory, I could have whatever it is. At the end of the day, it's a leftist doctrine to rewrite history, to teach children that this country is evil, this country is racist, this country is founded on all these different things, that therefore it can't prosper. I saw a documentary on John Adams, and by the time it was all done, it didn't even look like I was watching a documentary on John Adams. Wow. These people have taken the megaphones and they've rewritten things. Okay, and then there's something I've got to tell you, and I say everywhere I go, and it's the one thing I'll leave you with here more than anything, okay? The sentiment of white guilt has to cease. Okay? The sentiment of white guilt has to cease. This notion that people are owed something, that there needs to be a reparation, that there needs to, listen, the Jews were enslaved for 400 and something years, it's time to get over it. Okay? And nothing is owed. Black people were enslaved, yes, there was a certain amount of obviously things that were done incorrectly in this country.
The Vikings were enslaved.
The Irish were enslaved.
Right.
And
the Indians were slaughtered.
Native Americans were slaughtered, exactly.
Exactly. And plenty of white people died to free the slaves.
That's
So
right.
are we going to give them reparations too?
And what happens when you have family on both sides, like me?
Right.
I mean...
We're going to call it never mind. That might not fly in today's politically correct world.
It is a shame because, like I said, I grew up in the South. I mean, everybody can tell by my accent I didn't grow up in New York. No,
I never guessed.
But you know, I
You trying
guess
to tell me something?
I grew up in somewhat of a different lifestyle than I guess. I'm amazed by how racism plays such a part nowadays. Because, I mean, I grew up, my great-grandfather was a minister. My family had always been involved in the church. And I even put a picture somewhere out, like in the early, like, late 70s of me in like a potato sack race. And it was like pretty much 50-50 black children and white children. We didn't see that. We weren't exposed to it. We weren't allowed to be exposed to it. It wasn't taught or talked about in our home. And if somebody did, my parents and my great-grandfather, I'll just tell you, even if somebody come by and told an off-color joke, he never judged them for it. He walked away because he didn't want to hear it. But I was just raised that when somebody come up and told me how racist white people are, well, I'm like, my mom's Indian, but my dad's people are white. I never noticed it, Yeah. And, my father was raised by a black woman. And, my grandfather was a writer, and my grandmother was a nurse. And they had the Phillips home down here on Park Shore in Naples years ago, but the black lady, she cooked, she cleaned, she done everything. She ate dinner at the table with the family. She was just like an aunt. She was nobody.
She was a part of your family.
Yeah, it wasn't, and then all of a sudden here I am in my 50s and I've seen more people complaining about racism than I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's just, you think that we as human beings, we evolve. And if we're realistically going to evolve, we got to evolve from feeling like that we've oppressed somebody or somebody's oppressed us, because the only people that are oppressed are the people that allow themselves to be oppressed.
And the whole critical race theory that you asked me about, let me put one thing in there that I think will apply very well. If you were to go right now to Miami and you walk into any Cuban restaurant and there could be a black Cuban, white Cuban, whatever it is. I mean, my grandma was blonde hair, blue eyed, so it varies across the board. Okay, and you were to ask those people, what are you? their immediate response would be Cuban.
Right.
And they would accept each other as Cuban,
Exactly.
not as black or white.
Exactly.
What critical race theory does in this country is it breaks that national cohesion. Okay? It separates black from white. And then on top of that, it doesn't even allow for a black American. Okay? Now you interject a continent in there by saying African American. So you completely remove the nationality of America from the process. You make the African subculture to be a primary thing, and you alienate them from the rest of society. And so how do you cure racism when you are alienating the individual that you supposedly are trying to protect in the process?
But you're never going to cure racism, and this is the very first thing I said when I first showed whatever podcast I ever done. Racism will never end as long as it's profitable. And racism is a billion-dollar business on both sides, not just black, not just white. And you know, I've been criticized, but if you look at some of these people that took over certain organizations that are supposedly pro-race, they're pro the betterment of black people, they're the pro the betterment of Hispanic people, they're the pro the look at what the person owned before they took over that position, and look at what they own now. Now, look, I ain't gonna say it's self-serving, but if a man starts out and he's got one company, and in 3 years' time he's got security companies and this and that, and they're in his name, they're not in the name of the certain organization, he is profiting off of racism. Do you think he wants that to end? Just like a medical doctor, they want to treat you for something. I'm just saying, thank God for some great medical doctors, but you're never going to be healed. You're never going to be ended of racism, because once you stop those things, there's no money for those people, and what are they going to do now? That's all they know.
You know, it's very unfortunate too, because those are our children that are being affected by this, and you know, we're, like you said, we're going backwards instead of forwards. And you know, when I was growing up, I've said this before, I went to a high school where I was the minority. You know, my daughter's best friends with her next door neighbor, and he is from Mexico. You know, what critical race theory, what it does is it tells her, hey, you're not allowed to be friends with him. And you're certainly not allowed to be best friends with him. In fact, you are oppressing him. And he's oppressed by you. And I will not raise my kid in a society like that. I will go against that every single day, because that is a lie straight from the pit of hell. And unless we start combating against it, it's never going to change.
So, you know, first of all, I grew up in New York. And when I say I grew up in New York, I mean Manhattan was my backyard. And when you grow up in an area like New York, there is just all kinds of culture around you.
Sure.
And you're not really thinking that somebody is different than you. You're just accepting all of the cultures that are around you. And actually, as a foodie, I'm really thrilled about all of the cultures that were around me. I can tell you that. You know, my husband and I have a family that is multicultural. A lot of people don't know that about us. And you know, I don't go around talking about it, because honestly, it's not something that I should even really have to discuss. No. But the fact of the matter is that we do have mulatto grandchildren, and we also do have a Spanish granddaughter as well. And as I've said, that's something that probably a lot of people that are even here in the room or that are listening don't even know that about me. You know, but that's something that's been a part of our lives for, 24 years now. Christy and I actually did a critical race theory textbook review last July. We had 40 community members volunteer to read the K through 12 English textbooks. The reason that we chose the English textbooks was because the district was in the process of adopting them, so we wanted to know what was in them. They had just
adopted them. Yeah.
Well, they got phased in, so they had adopted the first set, and then over the next few years they would continue to adopt them. But hands down, 40 different individuals who read and took notes on specific chapters and specific phrases said that there was critical race theory in the textbooks. And I could give example after example of that, so could Christy, because we were involved in this. Now, some people will tell you, oh, there's no critical race theory being taught, but that's not true. Critical race theory was being taught. Now, what the upshot of this whole thing is, though, is that now our governor has put into place the new BEST, B-E-S-T, standards that will go into full full
Effect.
thank you, in the 2022-2023 school year. And basically we've gone back to classic literature. And by the way, classic literature is a fancy phrase for everything it is that we all grew up with, which was Charlotte's Web and Romeo and Juliet and Robert Frost, Mark Twain, and Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass, and that's what constitutes classic literature. And the other thing now is that there's going to be a civics program in grades K through 12. So what happens now is the textbook publishers are not going to write what it is that they were writing before when we had Common Core, because quite frankly, the books won't be able to be adopted because at the state level they'll prevent that from happening, hence the math textbooks that the governor halted. And when there's no money in it, as one of our guests here in the audience just said, Tara, when there's no money in it for them anymore, guess what? Then they're going to have to change what they write, which is actually, Joe, what you were saying a few minutes ago was where it followed the money and the money starts to dictate everything.
Everything. And again, it's real simple. You know, I remember growing up, and I'm a product of Lee County school system, so is my wife. You know, I remember one of the teachers I remember probably the fondest was, and I can't remember his name, but I remember I was in like 6th grade, and he was a Korean War vet, and he taught civics. Not this washed up half truths that you see nowadays. And it always impressed me that this man, I understood it. And some of this stuff, I have trouble wrapping my head around some of the stuff they bring home to the kids because, like, well, you know, I didn't grow up believing that. You know, and it is hard. You're talking to a man that's done over a half a century old that was taught one thing and grew up watching these things and watching them transpire, and then you got a group of these new millennials that I was married and adult by the time they were born, and they're telling me that everything I've been taught's wrong.
Now, you know, one of the things that I have to say, and Christy and I talk about this often when we're door knocking or whatever, is the fact that we do not like the divisiveness that is going on today. We feel as though it is that critical race theory has created this divisiveness where this divisiveness did not exist. And one of the things that we are absolutely committed to is looking at every element of anything if elected to the school board and not allow
elected to the school board
and not allow divisiveness to divide us.
Well, yeah.
When you're elected
go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, these the girls definitely.
I said when you're elected to the school.
Yeah, when, because you know, you bring up a very good point. You know, when we are elected to the school board, critical race theory, that is all that it's focused on, and it doesn't matter. Now, the reason why you get such backlash, especially here in Lee County, is because it's not called critical race theory. It's called social emotional learning, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or some other acronym that just means critical race theory. So yes. So when these, but what my point is that when the teachers are being taught in the beginning, before the beginning of the next school year, when they're being updated and they're being given all the new trainings, they're not calling it critical race theory. I mean, at one point or another, these were called mindfulness exercises. These were called character building projects. Like, it's gotten so far away from what it actually is that our teachers don't even know what they're doing most of the time. Some of them are ignorant to it, and the ones that aren't, well, they're going to be in for a really tough 2022-2023 because the governor has put these new laws in place, and they are going to take effect. And whether the school board, the current school board, chooses to put policy and procedure in place, it won't matter because the law is the law. And parents and even the teachers and staff, they don't want to see this stuff happen anymore. I've had firsthand experience with this on multiple occasions with my own children in our public schools. That's why I pulled my middle schooler when I did, because of a civics class. And my high schooler, I have been witness to multiple examples of critical race theory being taught in her classes, and there's not a thing I can say about it.
So, and now that being said, let's talk reality. Sometimes there are biases in one direction or another, and that can occur in anything. It can occur with race. It can occur with sex. It can occur with anything. I mean, I'm a woman. Am I going to say, oh, I don't ever think that in some way that maybe there was some type of bias because I was a woman? I mean, I think a lot of people can claim bias in general. But what I do want to say is that when there is bias, that bias must be addressed.
Yes.
Okay, but that's across the board.
Absolutely.
All biases need to be addressed. And so once again, when we're elected to the school board, if that is what is occurring, then that is absolutely going to be addressed. Because the net is that when you're on school board, your most primary asset are the children.
Absolutely.
Okay, so whatever you're doing, it has to be for all of the children, all of them.
Yep, every single last one.
And we do realistically, we have to have people like Denise and Christy on school board. And we got a lot of good teachers in the school system.
We do.
We got some remarkable teachers.
Yeah, we do.
However, there's a few that slip through the cracks. They try to teach things that morally a lot of average people would not go along with. This is where we need checks and balances, because if the proper school board gets a complaint, it shouldn't take a complaint to the superintendent and every member of the school board to get to the principal or whatever to find out if a teacher's doing something inappropriate. The very first time somebody tells me that something's going on appropriate in my child's classroom, you're going to get a visit from me. And I'm not the nicest guy to come visit. I'm just telling you. And I know you've got protections under the state laws. I've got protections as a father and as a citizen of this great state of Florida called Stand My Ground. If you're doing something that's offensive to my child or my family, I'm going to stand my ground.
Well, and then I'll say one more thing and I'll turn it over to you. Well, and that speaks to the fact that we have an awesome governor who has put these laws into the effect. But quite frankly, we already have a constitution.
Yes.
And we should not even need something like the Parental Bill of Rights to enforce the rights that parents already have.
Yes. And
Sorry.
No, I agree 100%. And the only thing I was going to say is, the problem is you have a bunch of good teachers, but remember also, and as I was saying, because of this cultural Marxist attack that's been going on for decades, you also have teachers that are part of that system too. So you have teachers that have been brainwashed and have come up with that mindset and are now part of that system to turn around and propagate it again. And just keep in mind, as I said, I got here at the age of 5. So I'm a product of, for a few years, the New Jersey school system, and then the rest of the time, the Miami-Dade County school system. Now, if you've ever been to Miami-Dade County, you know that that's basically the equivalent of being in North Cuba, okay? And so,
the food.
The food is great, but it's the equivalent culturally of being in North Cuba. And so I will tell you one thing as to how it works, and this is why I think we need an extreme push towards, if you want to call it the right, we need an extreme push to the right to end up somewhere in the middle, because we're just too far to the left now. And I'll tell you, when I used to have a radio show in Miami, I had to think in English and translate what I was going to say in my mind into Spanish. That's because, first and foremost, I think in English, okay, and I feel American, and that's the culture and the value set that goes along with it, because that's how I was raised here.
Well, Aaron,
Unless children have that, we're done as a nation.
Here's a question that I pose for you. Now, me working with the Hispanic community a lot, I do the swamp sand, I go out to a lot of Hispanic homes and deliver presents. One thing that has always bothered me in the Hispanic community is a vast majority of our residents over here, their English is not very good. So they're relying on translators, they're relying on people to communicate what they think they're supposed to hear. And then here becomes a problem, because I've watched it happen with the coalition and other things. These translators tell these people what they think they should hear, not what they necessarily. And we have a group of uninformed people that are either voting or not voting or are just unaware of what's correct, because they don't know who to turn to. They think they're turning to the right people. And I've seen it time and time again that somebody has pushed an agenda that was totally, if these people had been sat down and talked to, they would not know, they would not go along with it.
that actually brings me to a very good point. So out of the 95,000 students that go to the Lee County School District, we had 13% of students not graduate. And that's almost 1,000 students.
926 to be exact.
And of that 926 students, 20% of them, a little less than 20% of them were Hispanic.
So that's sad. That's just sad. That's what I'm saying. Someone needs to come out, and it ain't just in the school system. It's everywhere where people can take advantage of somebody's, and it's not a disability, but they haven't learned everything, the rights, the proper protocols and things that they are protected under the United States, and so they're took advantage of. One of the main reasons I become an H2A contractor, because I've seen it happen with my own eyes. How do we get these misinformed people to get good people to help them get on the right path so that they're not just getting a bunch of BS and somebody getting their money to send back north?
I'll tell you step one, okay? If you depend on somebody to give you information right off the bat, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't care what culture, what country,
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. So, would you say my English is okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, okay. Well, my thing with that is, I was thrust into New Jersey where no one spoke a word of Spanish to me. Okay? And I used to sit there, and my dad would come and give me lunch through the fence because he was the only person that was able to speak to me for about a year and a half. And I was miserable out of my mind. Okay? But you know what? Thank goodness. Because in a year and change, I was able to communicate with everybody else around me. These ESOL programs, English for Spanish and other speakers, you got to cut that. Because there are people right now all over these counties, and in Miami-Dade County and so on, being babied and cradled, okay? And they sound like they just got off the boat, okay, 15 years later, because they were never given the opportunity and forced into becoming again. And this all goes back to a national cohesion. You have to, if you're gonna be American, you have to speak English, and you have to integrate it to the system. This whole, we're gonna name a school, I forgot the name of the school that they named now with a Spanish name here, what is it?
Amanecer. Yeah.
Amanecer. What Amanecer? We don't need Amanecer here, okay? We need like, Lee Elementary or something like that. We don't need Amanecer. This is not Cuba, this is not Mexico, this is
We're
not
not allowed
Honduras.
to
Let's
name
wake
it
up,
Lee anymore.
okay, and get on board with the program.
Well, that goes back to us kissing everybody's ass that ain't American and trying to appease everybody to make everybody happy so everybody just gets along. When nobody gets along, it just puts a wider divide amongst us.
We're
Well,
getting
see-
along.
Well, see, you know, and
That's because I allow it.
I had to crack a joke, man. It's getting way too
But-
serious in here.
But look, I did come from a paradigm where the ESOL programs worked. Now, I don't know why they worked where I was and why they're maybe not working here. That's gonna have to be a drill down that gets done.
Because there's too many Spanish-speaking people here to baby them. So it works in a place like where you came from because they're forced to go out and practice it.
Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm just saying.
Being a native-
I'm honestly not sure yet. I feel like that's something that I need to research, that I need to know more about. I just am not one to make quick decisions without 100% knowing. I'd want to go back and take a look
I
at
just hate seeing so many
demographics where it
people
was.
getting
Me too.
disadvantage, and I see it daily. It don't take much. Right through a Mockley. If you ain't got nothing better
Oh,
to do,
yeah.
right through a Mockley. Look at how some of these folks live day to day. They're happy living that way, but it's sad because they could be living so much better. They're paying in dues in certain coalitions and things for fair food things. Look, they spent more money attacking Wendy's over a slice of damn tomato at the coalition than they've done to help the first Hispanic person in the whole town of Immokalee.
Well, I'm going to tell you that Christy and I both were criticized for being instrumental in stopping the brand new
Yeah.
K-8 school in Estero from being built.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some people that were out there that basically called us names because we were protecting all of the children in Lee County because the school needs to be built in East Lee, and it was going to be built in Estero. And basically, I'm proud to say, and I think I'm speaking for Christy as well, that we're glad that we got that building
Yeah,
stopped, because
absolutely.
it's not where the building needed to be
And
built.
if they even think about trying to build it again, because there has been talk,
That's
like
right.
it's not going away. We're not going away. Like, you can't build a school where we don't need a school, where you have created a problem. We need a school where you've put kids in portables for 25 years. That's where we need a school. So until that happens, well, there's not even really a conversation to be had. We don't even need to be talking about Estero anymore.
Part of the solution.
Yes,
Oh, but-
you know,
yes.
and she mentioned the portables, and just for the audience that's listening, the district, at least last we knew, had 176 portables, and over 135 of them were in East Lee. That's 75%. And if you did not quite hear what she said, they've been there how long?
25 years.
25 years.
And we know someone,
Why?
she came to a school board meeting, a mother came to a school board meeting, and she was pleading with the board to do something about the portables because her children were now attending school in the same exact portables that she attended school in when she was a child.
Correct.
And she wasn't like 18 years old or anything. She was my age. So that's a long time for us to have portables. When I went to Calusa Middle, or when I went to Calusa Elementary and Calusa Middle, when they were building the Calusa Middle, I was in a portable, a nice, pretty, fancy one, you know, with siding and a sidewalk and pretty landscaping. I was in a really nice one for about a year, maybe, if that. And then guess what? The portable was gone.
Well, it's a
And we
stopgap measure, right?
Huh?
Stopgap measure. In
Well,
other words,
and-
they're building, or for some reason there's a necessity
They were
for
building.
Right,
But my
exactly.
point is, I don't live in East Lee. That school is located on Del Prado Boulevard and Cape Coral. There should not be disparities like that in Lee County.
Exactly.
Well, you've got to put the right people in local government, and I've stressed this. I mean, you know, I love our governor, and I do believe that he'll run again. He'll be our governor again for the next term. And I'll give you my prediction right now. And if I'm wrong, y'all know I believe that our next president will be Donald Trump. And if I probably shouldn't let this out. Your next vice president is going to be Mike Pompeo. So you heard that here first.
Listen,
No,
make
no,
your
look,
prediction.
look, trust me, I've got this under good authority. So, and then after that, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to full force try to encourage Al Oaks to run for governor of the United States.
He is talking about Alfie Oaks.
If you do not know Al Oaks, he is a wonderful businessman. He has done so much for the community. He stood up when other people hid. He fought and he fought and he fights to this day. So, and I've talked to Al, and I truly believe that this is the way we're going to go along with this. And I think that Al would be a great governor. I do think we need Ron another year. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, we can't let him go anywhere in general.
No way.
But after Ron DeSantis, if I can do anything I can, I will promote Al Oaks to be the next governor of the only free state in the United States, and that's Florida.
Freedom,
You
Florida.
you guys said something about, I'm sorry.
You have a question from the audience? Go ahead.
Yes, people want to know where they can buy Ariel's books, so.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, yeah, so let's get to a little bit of that tonight too. We should give some shout outs to people that are here too. I want to say hi to Carrie and Heather and Tara
Hi, guys.
and
Thanks
Charlie,
all for
Carrie's
coming.
husband, and Dr. Joe,
Dr.
who's
Joe,
here.
thank you.
And several of the people that are here are very, very involved in education. We've got Dr. Joe, who does his own, I guess, tutoring kind of gig, if anybody's ever
Hey,
interested.
homeschool parents.
Yeah,
he
homeschool
helps.
parents.
He teaches
Uh,
homeschoolers.
Carrie Perez, she works, she's an
Helping
advocate.
Hands Advocacy.
She was a
Wow.
remarkable guest on one of our previous shows.
Yeah.
If you didn't get a chance to watch the show with Carrie Perez, go back and check it out. It's very informative. It's helped me and my wife a lot.
And I'm
And
going to
then
tell
we
you
have
really quickly that I'm going to give you a little sneak peek that Miss Perez is working on something with our district right now to revitalize our PTAs, especially in regards to our children with our ESE kids.
Okay.
So I am very encouraged at everything that she does, and I'm super proud of her, and I had to give her a quick
And then
shout out.
another person that I'm super proud of, I know we're all super proud of, is Tara. Okay, Tara also does educational evaluations. She has her own business. This is a mom that has homeschooled her whole life and has shown up at every single board meeting for probably about 8 years at least. She's
We gotta
holding up
give
her hands
her,
up 10.
we gotta give her some credit
Yeah.
because she also she is not, just so everyone knows, she's not our campaign manager. Denise and I are our own
And as
campaign
much as some people
managers.
like to say that
But-
she is, I know.
But she acts as if she were, because
she's
she
very
loves,
protective.
because she's very protective of us, and she loves us, and she believes in us. So, and we believe in her, and I'm just waiting for one day for her to run.
She is a constitutionalist of all constitutionalists, and I have to say I have so much tremendous respect for her.
I have plenty of respect for Tara from the first time I seen her drug out of the school board meeting to the second time I seen her totally.
By the way, to stick up for our First Amendment rights.
Absolutely. Tara Jenner, she's a remarkable woman. Like I said, Carrie Perez, she is very informative. Check out Dr. Joe.
Dr. Joe, do you have a name of your business? We'll
Math Man Education, that's what I'm called.
say it one more time, please.
Math Man Education.
Math Man Education.
Math Man Education with Dr. Joe. Check him out. Google him up. He's very good. Now we're gonna go on and let Ariel tell us a little bit how you can get this book. It's Only If You Can Keep It by Ariel Martinez. Now, like I said, I listened to his first time I ever listened to Ariel, and I was with Al Oaks at the time, and Al looked back at me, he says, damn, man, he's covered everything I wanted to say. so he's a very
Now he knows he has to
important
go
young man.
on first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he's a very important. Ariel, tell us a little bit, where can we get Only If You Can Keep It?
Very simple. Onlyifyoucankeepit.com. Okay, so I made it as easy as possible. In the interest of sticking with conviction, I steered clear of Amazon. I steered clear of pretty much every leftist publication that there is. I haven't really announced the book yet. Coincidentally, the only time I've ever bought the book with me anywhere has been to 2 of your events now. And so it's onlyifyoucankeepit.com, or my name, Ariel, A-R-I-E-L, not like the font, A-R-I-E-L, Martinez.com. And, there's a thing about the book. I'll give you a little Easter egg, a little author Easter egg. Okay? And that's Only If You Can Keep It. Everybody thinks it's a spin on the if you can keep it. Quote. If you open the book anywhere inside, you're going to see on the left-hand side, you've got on the top header, Only If You Can Keep It, the title. And then on the other side, For God's Glory.
Okay.
So really, the purpose of the book is that America will remain America, but only if you can keep it for God's glory.
Amen.
That's great.
And
I
anybody
like
that
that.
knows me, my slogan's always been faith, family, and Florida. That's what I live by. I've been strong in my convictions, my faith. My family means everything, and I love my Florida. So, I'll defend all 3 of them to the day I'm dead. And,
Can I jump in on another
go
thing?
ahead.
Okay, so Christy, I think this is a really, really, really good time to say something.
About?
Okay, that we are super, super thrilled, and not just thrilled, honored to have been
I don't know what she's
endorsed,
trying to talk
to have been
about.
endorsed by the Hispanic vote.
Absolutely.
We just found out today, and it's just an honor. That's all. That's what I have.
I felt like I was a contestant in a game show when I got the phone call, because literally I picked up the phone and I was like, hello? And he says, Christy, you got it. And I knew who it was, and I was like, what? Seriously? What? And I literally felt like I won the lottery, because, it really means a lot to have the support of the Hispanic vote. They have a very good standing record of
It's a great organization.
endorsing candidates that do a lot of good in our community. And sure, so I know we're gonna have some haters out there that say, oh, well, didn't they endorse such and such? And yeah, maybe they did. And guess what? They're humans too. So, but my point is that they made some very good choices, and I'm very, very honored to be endorsed by them.
And if you realistically, like I said, I work with a lot of Hispanic people. I consider them family. We have get-togethers, and me and my wife, we cook for probably 20, 30 men, come over and have barbecues, and they're all Hispanic. The one thing I'll say is them men love me enough they'd do anything in the world I ever ask them to. Never, because they knew they believe in people that are honest. And if somebody treats them fair, respectful, and honest, they'll go back for you every time. If you look back one of my previous videos, a group of Hispanic men that most of them couldn't even speak English had a translator. They done a video saying that they
I saw that
endorse,
video.
that they'll endorse anybody that Smoking Joe endorses because they know that Smoking Joe is going to tell them the truth. And I do appreciate the Hispanic community. It's great news that they've endorsed Denise and Christy. In my opinion, you couldn't pick a better endorsement.
And the other thing that everybody, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The other thing that everybody should know is that this Tuesday, which is the 11th, is the school
Oh,
board
yeah, I wanted to
meeting.
talk about, I was trying to be polite and be quiet, but I have a list of stuff over here.
A list, well, you should have
I do.
3 minutes.
I do. Okay, so in my 3 minutes, I just want to say, if you go onto leeschools.net and you look under their public meetings, you can find board docs. It's not awesome, but you can find it. You can also just Google Lee Schools board docs, and it'll come up and it'll bring you right to it. There are 3 meetings coming up, 1 on Monday and 2 on Tuesday. In the workshop, they're going to go over the capital strategies is going to be there again.
Is that Monday, Christy?
Mm-hmm. Should be a bell ringer.
What time
Should
is
be
that?
lots of fun. That is at 12 p.m. So Monday, June 13th, 12 p.m. The second agenda item are the legislative priorities, and the fantastic capital strategies is coming back to give us a
That's their
legislative
lobbying
update.
group.
That should be interesting. But and you guys can watch it online if you want. But what I really quickly wanted to mention is one thing in this legislative update, and that's the sales tax holiday. So the appropriations legislation created a 14-day back-to-school sales tax holiday from July 25th to August 7th for clothing, footwear, and backpacks costing $100 or less, school supplies and learning aids costing $50 or less, and personal computers or computer-related accessories, including non-recreational software, costing $1,500 or less. So that was just to know. And then there's a briefing let me just quickly. So they're going to go over legislative priorities. They're going to go over workshop topics. And they're going to go over the superintendent's entry plan. That one's going to be interesting too, so you'll want to tune in. And then they're going to go over the 360 assessment. And there was just something, I printed this and I just wanted to point it out really quick because I just noticed it and I thought it was interesting. So in the United States of America, we spell words in different ways than other countries do. So like color in other countries is COLOUR. Behavior, BEHAVIOUR. Okay, like here, we know we don't spell it like that. We don't add that U. So I found it interesting when I printed the GFB 360-degree feedback report, individual contributor law, this sample thing. Because on the very last page of it, it says, developing your behaviors with a U. So I looked at that and I thought, so where did we get this from? Because this is obviously not an American-made, American-created document. This document was obviously created by someone else in some other country. So some food for thought. I don't know that answer yet. I just saw this earlier today, so I am going to be, emailing one of the board members to try and find out. But yeah, so that's at the workshop meeting, and then we have a briefing on Tuesday at 1 p.m. and this is how many papers it is. And an action on Tuesday at 6 p.m. The agenda alone is 18 pages front and back. This is not even any of the attachments. I didn't even print them. So it's going to be a very long meeting. Or not very long because they'll have already agreed on everything before.
So
Okay,
could
can you-
everybody
and then
give their
Christy-
websites?
Yeah, and Christy, also, and so the action meeting or the regular meeting starts at 6 o'clock. They
Yes.
start to let people in at 5:40.
You should come if you've never been to one.
Yes, and I would recommend that you do get there at 5:40 because that'll give you plenty of time if you want to sign up for public comment. But yes, that'll be on Tuesday on the 11th. So
And I'm probably going to post about some of these agenda items because they're very sus.
Ready
So-
for Tara gets dropped
yeah.
out.
Before the girls and Arrow gives out how you can get in touch with them, get their websites and stuff, I want to thank a few people that helped make this happen. Jim at Mega Graphics, 4760 Enterprise Avenue, Suite 456 in Naples, Florida 34104. His phone number is 239-304-8288.
He did our car wraps.
He did all of our vehicle wraps.
And he's the
it's
coolest guy
amazing.
ever.
And he's a great guy. I think last year me and Jim put the fireworks together at my wedding anniversary down at Seed the Table, and I talked to Jim, and I think we're going to do a real big deal this year at Seed the Table. That's me and my wife's anniversary, but we're going to do a big fireworks show at Seed the Table this year. It's supposed to be better than ever. If you went last year, it was pretty amazing.
I got to light them up.
Yeah, Miss Jessie got to light the fireworks. Also, our sponsor is Farmer Joe's. Farmer Joe's is located in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida, at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road, and that is Cape Coral, Florida 33991. I'm going to tell you, since I had this heart issue, I've had to eat better. My wife's basically been bringing food from Farmer Joe's. The luckiest thing is they told me I had to eat protein. Protein means lean red meat.
Goodness.
And my wife got me a steak from Farmer Joe's. It was a pepper encrusted steak. This thing was about that thick, and it was the most closest thing to the. They just melt. It wasn't very big, but
You want it?
it melted in your mouth. I mean, it was just amazing. Farmer Joe's, they got some of the freshest produce, everything sourced local honey from Buddy Walker's Ranch. We have, they have one of the best bakeries, second to none.
And the pineapple machine.
Oh, pineapple. I ate pineapple like crazy, woman. But you got to go out to Farmer Joe's. There's always free samples. My wife's in love with bacon wrapped potatoes, which I ain't allowed to have no more. But come out to Farmer Joe's. Also, we want to thank Bill Simmer. Bill Simmer is the proprietor of Bonita Bill's here at 702 Fisherman's Wharf, Fort Myers Beach, Florida, 33931.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill's been a part of our family, and especially my wife's, for as way back as we can remember. He allows us to use his facility at our leisure, and there's not no better people than people like Bill Simmer and Kirby. Thank you for putting up with us and getting us set up every day, having air conditioning ready. Thank Denise and Christy. I want to thank Ariel Martinez. Denise, tell us what's going on. Give us your website.
So hey folks, instead of my website, email me. I would love to hear from you. It's electdenisenystrom@gmail.com. Elect, ELECTDENISENYSTROM @gmail.com. Would love to hear from you.
Go ahead, Christy. Give us yours.
Well, you can find me at not www, let me just say, Christy, the number 4, leeschools.com. That's CHRISTY, the number 4, LEESCHOOLLOOLS.com. And right now we're getting ready to do we have been canvassing. We've been doing some door knocking. And if you want to come out with us, you want to go door knocking with us, we're going to get some kids together here pretty soon. We're going to go out and hit the town. So if you want to come out with us, you can email us, get in touch with us, let us know, and we'll be happy to put you on our team.
Now, by the way, we will not be here next Thursday because Christy and I have to be at Cantina Laredo.
That's right.
Where we get our endorsement publicly from the Hispanic vote.
Okay, but then the following Thursday we'll be back here at Bonita Bill's, and we have got some special guests lined up for you. Tom Shadrick is one of them, who is going to be running for mayor of Cape Coral. Am I right?
Yes, you are, and also Ford O'Connell. We're not sure in which order they're coming in, but they will definitely be joining us.
Ford O'Connell will be joining us. We have a couple other people that have also told me they would be joining us. We're going to wait till later on to announce it. And then as we get close to the primary, I think I'll bring in a big gun or two to let him speak up. So, thanks everybody. Ariel, how can we get in touch? Now tell people, where again can we find Only If You Can Keep It by Ariel Martinez?
Yeah, onlyifyoucankeepit.com. Very simple, onlyifyoucankeepit.com. Or if you want to go to the organization that I'm president of, which is Christian Conservative Coalition, you can go to cccoalition.com.
Folks, this has been a wonderful show. Thank you for putting up with us being away a few days. I want to thank Denise and Christy. I so am thankful for Ariel for showing up today. Love, peace, and gator grease. God bless. Take care of your family. Get out there and vote.
Hi, I'm Denise Nystrom.
And I'm Christy DiVigili.
And I'm Smokin' Joe with the Cracker Culture Podcast on Smokin' Joe Nation YouTube. Join us live on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. when we will do a live